It's a special honor for an inspirational woman.
My name is Dayniah Manderson, and I'm the current Miss Wheelchair New York.
The first thing most people notice is the motorized wheelchair, but quickly, Dayniah Manderson's smile is what attracts attention. It's warm, inviting, ever-present, and indicative of her positive attitude, in spite of a horrible circumstance.
I have muscular dystrophy. I always tell people I'm one of Jerry's kids, and that's SMA type 2. And muscular dystrophy is just a disease where your muscles weaken over time.
Manderson, 37, from the Bronx, a mother and 8th grade English teacher, had never heard of Miss Wheelchair New York.
A friend of mine who is a former Miss Wheelchair New York nominated me for the pageant. So when I was called by them, I was like, I don't know what this is. I'm really not a pageant person. I'm just a teacher. My bread and butter is to just go into a classroom and teach every day. And she said, well, you were nominated and we were really interested in having you compete. And I'm like, I don't do competition.
She reconsidered.
There were a lot of questions. I don't think it was a beauty pageant. When I got there, I was like, oh my God, I bought all this pretty stuff, and I don't really need to because it's all questions. It was a battle of the minds. So it was good because I don't think that I had thought of myself as an advocate until this pageant. I didn't understand that there were so many other things that I could be doing.
The title, Miss Wheelchair New York, comes with great responsibility.
It's a sisterhood where we do advocacy work. The job is to get people to be aware of some of the struggles that people with disabilities have to go through, and to also highlight a lot of the positive things that people with disability are doing in the community.
Dayniah Manderson's wheelchair has become a podium from which she lobbies lawmakers and fights for reforms that can help people with disabilities. One of her causes?
Personal care attendants and the lack of a wage increase. It's very hard to recruit, to train, to basically keep personal care attendants because the wages are so low. And these are people who are devoting their lives to basically being your hands and your feet. They're up all the day. Whatever you would do for yourself, getting water, scratching your back. Those are all the things they have to constantly do for you. But they're not being paid fairly. And it's a shame because you lose a lot of good people and you end up with people who are not so qualified for the job. And I don't think everyone is aware of that deficit that exists for people with disabilities. So I'm trying to, I suffer with that myself. It's hard to recruit people. It's hard to find people because once you tell them the salary is like, you want me to stay overnight out of my house for that? It's kind of hard.
Dayniah Manderson was born in Jamaica.
My mother realized that there was something wrong at the age when children would normally be walking around, or at least start to walk independently. And when she took me to the doctor, they told her that I had muscular dystrophy. They didn't give her a specific type, so she didn't have a lot to go by. They advised her early on to leave me in a home for children, which she tried, but I guess a mother's love is a lot more complicated or complex than we know. So she brought me back home, and I think it became a case of nature versus nurture, and I'd like to think that nurture kind of won on this one.
The family moved to New York, where doctors transformed Manderson, figuratively and literally.
You might have read about my relationship with Dr. Shapiro. She's been my doctor since I've been, 14, and she's been following my disability, and she was able to get me connected to Dr. Bawachi, he's just a miracle worker. He was able to take my spine, which was curved 111 degrees. I was so deformed, and he made it happen, in 2008. Yeah, he made it happen. So he gave me essentially an extension of life because my heart and my lungs were being crushed, and he gave me an opportunity to see my daughter get to 11, which is all I wanted to do, to watch her get past the worst.
Muscular dystrophy has robbed Dayniah Manderson of her strength and mobility. but not the power of her mind. She attended New York University, earned a master's degree, and now teaches 8th grade English at Mott Hall Community School in Throgs Neck. On the first day of class,
I talk about the disability first because
just get it out of the way.
It's so much better. It's worked every year for me. I speak about what that means in terms of what I'm capable of doing in the classroom, and then what that means in terms of how they're expected to function. So they're given immediate ownership of maintaining the classroom, being responsible, behaving themselves. And children are a lot more mature for me. I absolutely love them. Once you can explain to them why, they're so easy to deal with.
She uses humor to make a connection.
So they'll have questions. Usually the chair is the first thing that they're curious about. They want to know what the buttons are about. Even though they're in the 8th grade, they want to know how fast it goes. The boys always want to know how fast the chairs goes, or can I do wheelies, so just me being comfortable answering those questions, or even joking about it, like, just don't steal my chair, don't put me out of my chair to go joyride. Those things really soften them up, and then I become more real to them. I'm just a person who sits in a chair, as opposed to, what is this lady about? Why does she look normal yet she's in this chair? Like, they ask those questions. Did you get in an accident? But I'm very comfortable sharing, things with them within reason, of course.
It seems before she was crowned Miss Wheelchair New York, Dayniah Manderson was already an ambassador for the disabled.
My day-to-day job is to teach English, right? But I think most of the lessons that stick with my students is empathy. And I think that's a very important lesson for them, because it's what's going to make them treat other people better, whether it's someone with a disability or just someone who's down and out on their luck. Just that empathy factor. That's what makes people move. When you can feel what another person's going through, you will take action, because it's almost as if you're an extension of that person. So that's most of our learning lessons in my classroom.
The results?
They definitely become more compassionate people. They're nicer at the end of the year. They grow, into these little adults, who go out there, and a lot of them are doing really, really positive things.
In the Bronx, Sean Adams, WCBS News Radio 880.